State actors very frequently engage in cybercrime. For example, you're much more likely to see e-crime from groups that are associated with the likes of North Korea. Stealing cryptocurrency or compromising cryptocurrency exchanges, it seems specifically for the intent of generating currency for the state. And that makes sense given restrictions that they have in place on interacting with the financial system in a legitimate way. In some instances, it appears that state entities will either coerce or retain groups that have historically engaged in either e-crime or hacktivism in order to do things that might support state objectives. Although in some instances, from the standpoint of the defender and for policymakers, it doesn't always make sense to dwell on the fact of an organization being a proxy per se, because if they're acting at the behest of the state, then the policy responses may need to be the same as if it were someone who was formally working for the state, for example, in the capacity of being an intelligence organization or a military unit. So threat actors are looking at using AI in a variety of different ways to enhance their operations. So from the standpoint of enhancing their own capabilities, threat actors will definitely use large language models to inform lures that they use for spear phishing to try and make more persuasive messages, for example, in order to trick victims into clicking links, visiting sites, running files, and that sort of thing. So that's one aspect. And then there's a lot of areas where they might use AI to process stolen data. They might also use AI to develop tools that might help them discover vulnerabilities better in victim networks, or to do a number of other things that just make their attacks more efficient and to be able to operate more broadly at scale. And then there's the set of issues where threat actors will target the companies that make AI or make AI available or enable research and development on AI. So if there are people that have accounts to AI-related services, people will try and compromise those accounts in order to be able to essentially use a legitimate account to be able to do whatever work it is they're trying to do. And I think we should expect to accelerate as AI applications broaden and as AI itself becomes more strategic, in particular from the standpoint of national policy. Although there are a lot of researchers in the artificial intelligence community that are trying to be cautious and trying to be thoughtful about a scenario where there's more of what people in the research community call AGI, or artificial general intelligence, that would have the ability to operate more autonomously. And I think it's worth working together to try and understand if there are reasonable practices that people in the research community and the companies that are engaged in using AI, might follow in order to just ensure that there's more benefit coming from AI broadly than additional risks or additional harms. On the other hand, there's also some use of AI in very benign applications or applications that are actually helpful. Things like maintenance, like projecting things around climate, helping with agriculture. So policymakers have to also be conscientious about understanding the intended use or application for some of these tools so that they're not eroding the potential good use cases for AI or weighing them down with additional restrictions where those applications are likely to yield good. So the case that we need to try and strike a balance as a community on where it is appropriate to implement safeguards for AI while still promoting innovation and use of AI, because there are some really interesting and important capabilities that it can offer.